Hello and welcome to another Ken 7 podcast with the Arl Arses. My name's Gav Jones. Joining me today is Stephen Eddie Jones and young Paul Moran. Gents, welcome. Good game yesterday. It was a vital win. We'll just get straight into it. It was a vital win. Man City slip up with a draw. You kind of couldn't see it coming before the game, but they do. And then all the pressure's on us. Got to get a win. Paul, the game seemed to be in, I think, three halves, three 30-minute segments. The first 30-minute segment was fabulous football. Talk me through that.
Well, it was everything you'd want from the team, to be honest with you, that first 30 minutes. It's how you'd want them to start a game like that against a team that, sort of say, historically dangerous to Liverpool, because we always used to have results of Palace, you know, the famous 3-3 game type of thing a few years ago that cost us the league in many ways when we were 3 up and went for goals instead of consolidating on what we did. But the first 30 minutes with the team that was out, which was a fair enough team, but you've obviously lost the 2 lads to the African Nations Cup, and the games you're playing while they're away, you just wanted to get the points, you know, get a couple of goals and the points. The way everyone played around each other and the movements and the passing, and he highlighted it last night on the telly, it was unstoppable for that first 30 minutes. You know, my son messaged me, we're doing absolutely brilliant here. This is brilliant to watch. And then it just seemed someone flicked the switch. And we went back to them. So some of the passing, you know, it's I mean, the famous one, if you like, the most obvious one was that ball by Matip across the face of the goal. You know, if you're talking kids football, you'd say to a kids team, well, don't hit it across the face of your own penalty area. But Van Dijk looks, I don't know whether you'd say he looks slow. He looked a bit lethargic as well. Yes, he scored the goal, fair enough, but some of his play, he doesn't seem to be getting back with the speed he was. Now, whether it's a COVID-related thing or injury-related, you wouldn't know. I don't mean an injury now, but whether it's from the injury type of thing he got last season, or whether it's COVID. But Matip, some of his passing's brilliant, and some of it's just rather he hit a happy medium and started just doing 20-yard passes and stopped going on there, you know, trying to whip balls into the centre of the pitch. Then Firmino did it as well. Now, he does have a bit of habit of picking players out from the other team up to a point where he's trying his little passes, which is all right, 10 yards outside the penalty area, but he did it in the centre circle and set up another chance for them. It seemed to be that all the chances they were creating were coming from our mistakes, which is the story of the last few weeks. The Leicester game at home, with a different team out, but the passing seems to be sloppy from time to time. So,
well, we'll get to that bit. I want to just eulogise a little bit about that first 30 minutes first, before we start sort of looking at reasons why why things sort of kind of fell apart. Steve, that I mean, Paul's mentioned it there. The passing and the movement was exceptional. You know, there was good interplay, one-touch stuff. You know, what did you think?
I thought the first 30 minutes, Gav, is probably as good a 30 minutes as I've ever seen us play. You know, it really was a bit special. At one stage, I thought to myself, Palace are trying to play the ball out from the back, which is what we do. But the players actually aren't good enough to do it. And they weren't really getting to the halfway line before we'd closed them down and we were on another sort of attack. I mean, I would expect Vieira, who was a magnificent footballer, and as their manager, that's the type of football he wants his teams to play. But I just don't think that they were good enough to do it. And as I say, they couldn't get to the halfway line. And I thought to myself, you carry on playing like that, boys, and this is going to be 5 or 6-0. And it really was a bit special. Then, as you say, something just sort of changed. And yeah, there were sloppy passes. And the one from Matip, Paul, that you mentioned was the one that sticks out in your mind. But there was one from Firmino as well. Was it complacency on our part? I don't really know, but whatever it was, it seemed to give Palace more heart. And what they did, they actually stopped playing out from the back and they started going much more direct.
Right.
And they caught our high line out a few times. And to be honest with you, it would have been unbelievable, really, after the first 30 minutes. But they could have easily gone into the break 2-2. easily gone into the break 2-2 because we got so sloppy, and I can't put my finger on what caused it. I don't think it was tiredness. I've heard one or two people say it was tired. No, not at that stage of the game. But it was, for 30 minutes, it was an absolute joy to watch. I mean, the triangles that we were playing were just quite amazing, and scored 2 cracking goals, really.
I'm going to persist with my a desire to talk about positive stuff, because you two have literally just gone negative, even though we've won the game. So I'm going to come to my dad, who is the biggest Virgil van Dijk fan in the country, and I'm going to ask Dad about Virgil van Dijk's goal to keep it on a positive note. We can talk about the negative stuff in a bit.
It was a classic, wasn't it? I mean, Van Dijk's goal was an absolute classic. He met it so well, and actually placed it right in the right part of the goal, away from the keeper. So it was great. But just to speak about what the other lads are talking about, what I felt was that we played so well. We played that passing game really well. We actually should really have been maybe at least 3 or 4 goals up after half an hour.
We had 17 shots, and we had 7 shots in the first.
I'm just wondering whether there was a mental thing where okay, we've scored 2 goals, but in fact we've missed a couple of opportunities. In fact, we've missed more than a couple of opportunities. I wonder in our team that just sort of come into their mentality. You say, actually, we missed it. We should be away with this game at the moment. Then put it on the other side. Then you pass it over to Palace, and they've thought to themselves, hey, as well as they're playing, as well as this team is, they haven't got the 2 up the normally have up front. We've got a chance here if we change our game. And they actually did change the game, and they looked a much more sort of positive side to us. And we got sloppy because a few passes went astray, didn't it, then? And I just wonder whether something had crept into their minds, our team's minds. That might have happened.
Paul, Ox scored the second goal. He's had 2 and 2 now, playing in Mo Salah's position, as we would know it. There's been a lot of stuff written about and spoken about Ox over the years, that he can't play on our front through, and no one wants to see him up there. But I mean, personally, I just don't think we've seen him enough there. You need to give someone 10 games run to see if they can actually play there. If they're coming in for 1 game and they don't play well, it could just be that they've not played well. What do you think about Ox's role up there? Did you see things yesterday that were encouraging in terms of being able to use him as a front forward player?
Yeah, I did, to be honest. He's one of the players, Ox. I've always liked him. I liked him when he played for Arsenal, as a player. And he's one of the players, as a character, you sort of want him to do well for us. He's not someone you think, well, I'm not bothered if he leaves. He's a player that you want to do well for how he is, how he is around the place and that. You ever watch these videos of them in training? He's always at the forefront of when they're doing stuff. He's always involved in stuff. I just want him to do well, and I thought he played well up front there yesterday. And the fact of the matter is, the other 2 have gone away to the African Nations Cup. There's going to be... Sorry.
That's not getting cut out. That's staying in.
I've got to go on. I'm doing that podcast. I'll see you later. Bye. Sorry.
Busy man.
She has to check up on me because I'm old now, so I have to be checked up on every now and again, make sure I haven't fell down the stairs or something.
Was that the fall? Was that the fall? That was phoning you to see if you're on your ass.
Honestly, that was me, missus, and it's the Irish national, the Italian national anthem on the phone that I've got from the Euros that I put on to annoy people during the Euros.
Wow!
And I've never took it off. I do apologise for that, everyone. Poorly prepared. I wasn't prepared. That's why I come on a minute before we started. I've got to turn my phone on to silent. It's on silent now. No, with the Ox, back to the Ox quickly. He can play in that position, but how old's the Ox now? Is he 31? 31. It's not like you can start telling him to do different things, and he can play that position up front with the other 2. But you've got Jota there now as well, who's not the main man by any means, but he does well, him as well. If you've got another player pushing for that place, because I think Firmino's now gone, if you like, out the front 3 from that front role into just behind the front 2 type of role, which I think he's better at anyway. Personally, I like watching him there anyway. But again, going off the Ox, not talking about what you want to talk about here, keep going off onto different subject. I'd love to see the Ox get a run in the team. I think he could do well. I think, as you say, 5-6 game run would do him well as well, because he's never really had that while he's been at the club.
Yeah,
he's had some unfortunate injuries, and he's unfortunate that the other three, as they were at the time of Salah, Mane and Firmino, were ahead of him in the pecking order. The midfield was strong at the time. It's still strong now. He just needs to get his games where he can and perform like he did yesterday, largely for the 90 minutes, and keep his place in the team if he can. Now, whether he does or not's up to Klopp, obviously, but he certainly done nothing wrong in the games he's played, and he made what my dad would have called a bit of a shape, which sometimes he hasn't when he's played, but I think in other times he's known he's back out the team no matter what he does. So you might be feeling at the moment he's got a little bit of a chance with the other two obviously still being away and getting through to the quarterfinals or the last 16, whatever they're in now. So, but then we haven't got a game now, typically enough for 2 weeks.
Steve, we mentioned it off air before we started recording, but watching Match of the Day last night, Jermaine Jenis's lazy summary of Liverpool's defending, I feel personally, basically saying, they need to drop this high line and all that sort of stuff. They get caught out, and it's been going on all season. But, surely that's the way we play. There's a reason why we have a goalkeeper who plays as a sweeper. There's a reason why we've got 2 centre defenders or 4 centre defenders who are good at defending big spaces, who are quick. We accept that we're going to concede those one-on-ones. But, at times we don't do ourselves any favours. What I will say in our defence is we had 5 offside decisions yesterday, which is the system working. It's not lucky. It's the system working. And with VAR now, you can do that because if it's offside, it's offside. If it's not offside, they're going to see it. So, I mean, what do you think about that? Obviously, you touched on it before that we kind of let them back into the game and we looked a bit shaky. Do you think there's any reason to analyse the back line, the high line, the way we play? Should we be changing? Should we be going to some sort of, deeper block, as it were?
You're going to play a high line, it's always going to be a high risk strategy. We played it brilliantly over the last few years. I think there's a couple of things that come to mind. Matip is having a little bit of a wobble, just at the minute. There's quite a few people who would have preferred to see Konate in there yesterday. I'm pretty neutral on that particular one. I think the other thing that and this is in the back of my mind and is worrying me a little bit, is that in the last couple of games, you could always rely on Virgil to put the afterburners on if your high line was caught out. I mean, he seemed to be able to click into another gear and just overtake and just shepherd the attacker out to a part of the pitch which really wasn't dangerous at all. But he just seems to, and I don't know whether it's a lack of fitness. I don't know whether it's taken a long time to get over an horrific injury. Let's be honest. But the afterburners don't seem to be just working. Look, I'm not criticising because how much I love the guy.
Can I just pick you up on that though? And I mean, this is what Paul was alluding to before. We've seen him do afterburners this season. But in certain situations, and the one yesterday where it was a click where they scored their goal, that's a lack of awareness. That's not afterburners, and the guy's got to run on him. There's no one catching him. He's running that quick.
I wasn't specifically talking about the goal that we conceded, actually. There was once against Arsenal where you would have, the other night, where you would have expected him to be able to just shepherd out, and there was one yesterday. And I hope this isn't right, but I'm just worrying that he's just lost the half yard because of the injury. I don't know. Look, he's still a Rolls Royce of a centre half, and you know how much I love the guy. But I don't know. I think that put that together with the fact that Joel's having a little bit of a wobble and giving the ball away.
It's it's only a few games, isn't it? It's been the last 2 or 3 games. He's not. Yeah. I mean, he went off at half time the game before, didn't he? Against Arsenal,
Joel Matip
with a suspected knock. So we'll give him that. But I do get what you're saying. I mean, he's been outstanding most of the season, hasn't he, Matip? I mean, he's been at times been better than Van Dijk.
Yes, he has. And if he can stay fit, we've got to persist with him. We have got Konate there, who, I mean, when Konate came on against Arsenal, I thought he had a brilliant second half on Thursday night. So, yeah, look, you're right. This is the way we play. We play with a high line. Now and again, it will get caught out. You've just got to accept that that's the way it is. And when we've got a goalkeeper with the ability of Alisson, I mean, that's the way that we are set up to play. So, okay. I mean, just going back to something Paul said there with the Ox, I thought the Ox did well yesterday. I guess the problem that we've got is that we are, I think, going to have the African players back for the next league game, which is a fortnight on Thursday, is it, against Leicester? They will be back. They will be back for that. Yes, the Ox does need a run of games, but the problem or conundrum that we're facing at the moment is that, given the fact that we're on City shirt tails, we can't really afford any slip-ups. So I have to say that once Sadio's back, once Mo's back, I think we are going to revert back to that. Just hoping that they come back with no injuries, obviously. So, yeah, he does need that run of 5-10 games. I'm just not sure whether that's a luxury that we got just at the moment.
No, but I think what he offers is an alternative which perhaps we didn't have. Certainly on that right side, he offers an alternative, and what you can do in game. Say Sadio's having a bad game, you can move Mo over to the middle, Jota onto the left, and then bring Ox in on the right, and you've got another option there. Whereas I think certainly amongst most fans that the feeling was that he couldn't play there, and we didn't want to see Ox in the forward line. I've heard many a fan on a podcast say that. So I mean, what do you think, Dad? Are you more confident in Ox being in that forward lineup from what you've seen in the last couple of games?
I am, but the problem with the Ox is his injuries, isn't it? And when he had a longer run in the team, then he just in the past, he's picked up injuries. So worrying that really, we've basically used him as somebody who comes in and gets a knock and then he's out for a bit. So it's the consistency. But I think he's starting to believe in himself a bit more than he has been. I think he's half been expecting, I'm going to get injured here, and he's starting to believe a bit more in himself. So I think you can see that in his play.
If you're enjoying this video so far, please show your support for the Ken 7 channel by clicking the subscribe button, the like button, and also clicking the bell for future notifications. If you could also share the video on your Twitter and Facebook account, that will show YouTube's algorithm that you like our content. Do you know about Ken 7 merchandise? The link is in the description of this video. We have premium fanwear for fans covering Liverpool, Celtic and Scotland, and it's fanwear for young and old. So we have t-shirts, hoodies, sweatshirts, caps, mugs, you name it, we've got it. Just something else to remember, every purchase that is made on our website, we donate to the Marina Dalglish appeal. So you're helping a great cause as well. Yeah. Dad, I'll stick with you. Paul mentioned Diogo Jota there. His form's been outstanding. He's the second highest scorer in the league behind Mo Salah, which is outstanding. I think he's exceeding all of our expectations of him when we signed him. I mean, what's Diogo Jota brought for you? How good a player do you think he is?
I think he's obviously, like everyone else, I think he's a great player, and he's just that bit different, because all these players are characters, aren't they? They have a character of their own. Just going back to my Virgil van Dijk. I mean, when you say that he's lost something, you've got to remember that Virgil has had COVID. He was off a couple of games with COVID. Now, I've got a friend who's got COVID, and he basically can't breathe. He's struggling to breathe if he walks. He walks 20 yards. Now you just wonder how much that's taken out of him. Also, I think because he scored that great goal in the first 7 minutes, we do play a high line, and he was getting himself up there. I just think maybe he hasn't got the breath, if you like, to get back as quickly as he was getting back before, and that may be due to COVID. Listen, we're all affected by COVID. Every one of us in our mental strength, and I just wonder whether that's the COVID has taken a bit out of Virgil than we're giving him credit for, and yet he does look a little slower.
Okay, Paul, just going back to the Jota thing. I mean, what other things that I said to my dad? His form this season's been outstanding. What were your expectations of him when he came in, and how was he performing for you? I mean, how do you see him in the pecking order almost of Liverpool strikers?
Well, again, when he was with Wolves, he's one of them players that you did notice, if you like. He's like at Wolves. You go back to Wolves now, like Ruben Neves. You do notice certain players at certain teams. Like years ago, you could name the team, Derby County's team from 1974 now, but the players now, the only ones you say or I get to realise are the ones who actually stand out in games. And Jota was certainly one that you'd seen playing, if you know what I mean, and took notice of. He's come to us, he's offered a totally different thing going forward than I think Salah and Mane do, to be honest. He's really, his finishing is unbelievable. The goal against Arsenal in the league, when he sat 3 of them on their arses in the box. It's as you say, it was the bad back of the left back passed it to him, which did surprise a few of the Arsenal defenders because they weren't expecting it. But the way he left a few of them floundering on the floor there was really it was a better goal than people gave it credit for, because a lot of people just concentrated on the mistake by the left back and not how good the actual finish was. Other goals he scored, the one against Everton, his goals are all different.
Yeah,
he's getting headers in, he's getting near post headers, far post headers. He's certainly brave, and his finishing's unbelievable. There was a thing on the LSU TV, Jota's goals, and it actually stands out that the difference in the finishing, how different the goals all are, which is all you can ask for. He's certainly done better than you would have dreamed or hoped he would, which is good. Some people come in and don't do stuff. It's like, again, changing the subject, what you talk about, you go to Minamino, he put in that game against us for Red Bull, he was unbelievable. And now he just looks a bit lightweight to me, but he certainly, more he gets involved, he scored a couple of goals recently, which will do him good as well. And but back to Jota, I think he's been a fantastic sign, and he's one that when we were signing him, I think a few people were saying, who's he? What's he going to bring to the team? And then you'd like to see what they thought of it now. But certainly, I was happy when we signed him.
It's a testament to how they scout players, isn't it? Using the figures, they've looked at some stats there and seen something in him that perhaps wasn't even obvious to Wolves, because Wolves were happy to let him go.
Yeah, well, it's how he is. Again, it's like we said about the Ox before. It's how they are off the pitch as well. It's all very well having the best player in the world playing for you, but if he's a pain in the arse off the pitch, or he doesn't want to do what he's told to do, or he thinks he knows more than the manager, then you've got no chance. And the lads all see, you can see how they are at the end of the games, win or lose. They're all going over to each other. There's no retribution. Even yesterday, there seems to be a bit of a thing going on at the end. Milner was talking to him at the end. I can't remember who it was. It's like we've won 3-1. It's a vital win, but they were still saying we should have done this better. We should have done that better. And that's what you're saying about us three before, going on the negative side of things. It's like that's what you would hope the players do, because you don't want Klopp in there today saying we done well in the first 30 minutes there, so that we'll forget that now. You've got to do the game management thing. There's got to be, sitting here in the front room talking about it and telling them what to do, but you look at the game management. We did it against Everton. We went 2 up. We were flying. Then he let a daft goal in, 2-1, and then the pressure's on. And it changes the mindset of everyone on the pitch. Yeah. As you go from 2-0, 2-1, you think, fucking hell, you change. The other team get the boost. Everton did it. Everton did it against us. Brighton did it. Brighton come back from 2-0 down. Luckily, Everton and Palace didn't come back. But, the way they play now, they're not going to play like they do for 90 minutes every game.
Yeah.
And you've got to accept, and this high line is to give them breathing space up to a point, because the other team have got to work in behind us, and now and again they do. But if we play deep all the time, you're just inviting pressure. So it's what you do. If we're all lined up on the edge of the penalty area, everyone's going, "Oh, you can't. You're too deep. You're too deep." And now it's too high. We won 3-1. Let a goal in caused basically by a couple of quick. It was like a 5-a-side goal we let in yesterday.
Yeah.
2 passes and then he pulls it around the goal. He's nowhere to be seen because he's gone for the first one, which is fair enough. But if you're playing, again, you were saying before, people are criticising the high line. So then you're too deep in other occasions. So there must be one. I'd love to know where it is on the pitch. There's a perfect line somewhere you should be playing. Presumably it's in between the penalty area and the centre circle is where you should be. But other teams don't let you do that because you just hit it over your head if you're too far back.
Yeah.
So it's one of them things. You're looking at what's happened and then, not you, I don't mean us. I mean, people are looking last night on match. I turned it off in the end because there was a danger of something getting launched at the telly the way then. Richards, I don't know what Richards was on about. I thought he was just like blubbing, like he was just making a noise, like the teacher used to in the Peanuts cartoons. He was just like making a noise that didn't make sense. And Dennis hates Liverpool anyway. He's always
Dennis has got a thing about us, and then he's always on the negative. He loves it, and I don't think he's got anything really that interesting to say, to be honest with you, Jermaine.
No, you ever watch him on the One Show? It's it's something. If you need to go out of a night and you think, "Oh, stay in," put the One Show on. You'll be out the door in 5 minutes on your bike or going for a walk. Rather, I know you can turn it over. I know that was a bit of an exaggeration, but he doesn't bring anything to the party.
I get that.
Abuse to Liverpool.
I want to talk about the penalty, but first of all, before I talk about the penalty, I'm just going to go round you all, and I want you to say yes or no whether it was a penalty. Paul?
Yes.
Steve?
No.
Dad?
Changed my mind. I think yes, it was.
Okay. So you think it's a penalty, Paul? And my dad thinks it's a penalty. Dad, why do you think it's a penalty?
Well, I've watched it a few times now. It depends on which angle you watch it from. But what it reminded me of was, the Pickford sort of one on Van Dijk, where he basically took him out. And what he did is the ball went loose. Now, if he hadn't taken him out, he might have got to that and scored. So I think I don't agree now. I thought it wasn't a penalty, but I don't agree now. It definitely wasn't a penalty. It definitely wasn't a penalty. I mean, if you're saying to me, have you seen worse than that hasn't been given as a penalty? Yeah, we have.
Yeah.
Many times.
Yeah. I think
now I watched certain angles. I think it was a penalty. He actually body checked him, and if you remember, that's what Pickford did to Van Dijk.
I saw on Twitter this morning the video of a penalty that Everton got where he goes over Trent, I think it is. Trent can't get out of the way. There's nothing you can do.
He kicks Trent on the back of the head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you deliberately foul someone with your head, which is an unusual circumstance anyway, but go on.
So what? Go on, Paul. You're desperate to talk about this, I can see. So I'll stay with you in a sec. Go on.
It's the fact is, he goes with the ball. He beats the defender to the ball. He gets in front of the goalie. He knocks the ball past the goalie. Now, whether he goes towards the goalie or not, the goalie has put himself in a position where Jota can trip over him. Now, the argument about whether he would have the ball or not, it's one that does get on my nerves a bit, because the argument is, the people say he wouldn't have got the ball. So presumably that means when the ball's going out of play, you can kick the attacker on the basis he wasn't going to get the ball, and it's not a foul. Now, the goalie's to blame for this. The goalie could have stayed on his feet. He didn't have to do what he did. And it's one of them things, if Harry Kane does it, all the journalists are saying Harry Kane was clever there. He's got a penalty for his team because he's allowed himself to be fouled. If that's the way you want to phrase it, Jota did well and got himself in a position where the goalie allowed him to trip over him. Now, everyone's done it. Every player in the country's done it. Every player in the world's done it. But the furore about it now is ridiculous.
In all honesty, if it's 2-1 and they get the same penalty, are you like, yeah, it's a pen?
Like, you'd be upset about it, but you'd be wondering why Alisson had gone to ground.
Right, so you're
like
saying you'd be wondering more about that than the decision.
Yeah, it's like the Pepe Reina one at Old Trafford that time when we won 4-1 at Old Trafford, and he come flying out. Ronaldo kicks the ball out of play and trips over him. Fair enough, it's a penalty. Everyone knows it's a penalty. This argument that people were putting forward, he did on Match Today last night. He's not going to get the ball. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's like someone. I was talking to a lad this morning. We walked this morning. The lad said, "It's like if you got a gun and shot at someone and missed. The police don't go, "Oh, it's all right, you missed." It doesn't matter that you missed. If you go in and try and foul him or try and trip him, it's a foul. It's a penalty. Yeah. And it's because it's us, basically. You've only got to look at the one on Jota at Tottenham, where he gets assaulted from the back. That's a penalty. That's not given. There's no big fuss about that. Everyone's just staying dive. Because it's us. Good job it wasn't Salah, because it'd be on the 10 o'clock news if it was Salah. Because it's Jota, it's faded into the background a little bit on the news, but it's because it's us. It's not no other reason. It's not because it's not. And people are saying, "Oh, it wouldn't have been a penalty at the other end." How do you know? No one's got.
No, you're right. You're right with that. Totally.
Crystal Palace and crystal balls. No one knows it's going to be. That's what they're all basing the argument on. Is it wouldn't have been a penalty for anyone else, which is a complete
ludicrous
unknown situation. Like,
Steve, you didn't think it was a pen, so why?
Okay. I mean, first of all, I didn't watch Match of the Day last night. So I watched the game live, but I didn't watch Match of the Day. So I didn't get the benefit of Mr. Genius's wisdom on that particular one. I think that one of the things that Jota has got, which he shares with a couple of his other Portuguese compatriots, is you can either call it shithousery or you can call it cuteness. I don't really care what you call it. And I think that the main thing is, if that had been given against us, I'd have been absolutely livid. I mean, he was cute. What he did, maybe the ball was going out of play. I don't know. I think that's academic, Paul. I totally agree with you on that particular one. But he moved into the keeper and he went over the keeper. Look, it's you mentioned that game that we played against the Blues behind closed doors last January or whatever it was. That was when Calvert-Lewin, basically ran into Trent. That went to a VAR check as well. It was actually given first off, and the referee was advised to go and have another look at it and didn't change his mind, which is very, very unusual, by the way. So, look, I wanted the penalty. Should it be a penalty? On balance, no. But I'd have been absolutely livid if it was against us. Sometimes you get a break, and we got a break on that one yesterday, and I'm delighted that we got a break. But if you're going to give penalties for that, you're going to basically ask for players to do a Harry Kane. Harry Kane would have done exactly the same. And I think that there was an incident, and I think Carriers was in goal, a home game where it was 1-1, I think, at the time, and he got a late penalty on that one and basically just dived over the keeper effectively. But there was contact. So if the rule on a penalty is going to be if there's any contact, then that is a penalty. Yes, I guess it is a penalty. But I'd have been, if we were having this podcast this morning and that had have happened against us, we'd have all been up in arms about it, frankly. Rightly so.
I think so.
So where do you stand, Gav? I'm interested on you, because I'm outnumbered. I'm outvoted here.
I am Switzerland. Well,
you've got all the nasty gold, have you? Yeah.
No. I honestly didn't think it. I thought it was a pen when I first saw it. When I saw it back, I didn't think it was a pen. And my initial thought was, if that was against us, I'd have been fuming. I think I can see why he's give it, but I think if it was against us, I'd have been fuming. But listen, we move on. It's 3-1. We've won the game. At the end of the day, it's not affected the result, really, has it? So,
interestingly enough, there, Gav, you said at the time when you saw it first off, you thought penalty. When I saw it first off, the thought of a penalty didn't even cross my mind.
Right.
You know, and then I thought, oh, hang on, they're going to have a look at this.
Yeah.
You know, and we got it, and I'm glad that we got it.
Yeah, we got it.
And anyway, look, we were still 2-1 up at that stage anyway.
Yeah.
I want to talk quickly before I let you go, more broadly about the league. Now that we've gone through the game, we're second, 9 points behind City with a game in hand. I think we're 2 goals behind them. They've got 41 and we've got 39. Paul, I'll come to you. What do you think we can still do this? And I mean, obviously, I'm assuming you don't want us to give up, which none of us do. So let's put that to bed. But do you see anything in City's performances at the moment? Because we need them to slip up. There's nothing we can do other than win our games, and we do need some help from them. Do you see anything in City that makes you think that that's a possibility?
Well, you've only got to look at Saturday's result. You thought they'd draw 1-1 at Southampton. You know, all right, you watched the game, watched a bit of it before I went out, and City were knocking the ball around and Southampton were chasing after the ball. But it's 1-1. It's not a team, you know, if Chelsea go, if City go to Tottenham away and draw 1-1, you think, well, that's not an unusual result, if you like, although it is the way Tottenham are playing well at the moment. What I'm saying is, going to if City went to Burnley and drew, you'd say it was a shock result. Going to Southampton and drawing, because don't forget, at Christmas, when we got beat by Leicester, again, not us, what other people are saying, City, that's the league over. It's not over. It wasn't over then, and it's not over now, and it's much closer now. Because City, and it's not Man City's fault, when we got beat by Leicester on the day after Boxing Day, they weren't going to lose another point. They weren't going to let a goal in or lose another point all season. You just saw them with Southampton. In this league, it's like us playing yesterday. If we'd have drew 1-1 yesterday, you'd have gone, that's a crap result. But it wouldn't be a massive surprise type of thing. You know what I'm saying? Away games in the league are hard, and you can't guarantee City are going to win every game. Some people threw the white flag up at Christmas. I certainly didn't. And now you go to City and beat them, 3 points behind them if you win the game in hand, all ifs and buts again.
Oh, yeah, of
course. That's the count for City winning every game. Yeah. You know, City you'd say the City are going to win every game at Christmas. They're going to, that's it, finished now. January the 24th or whatever it is, they've drawn against Southampton, and we can get to within 3 points of them with the right results.
Dad, I'm going to take you back to, I don't know what year, probably Steve would be able to tell me this, but Liverpool in January were 12 points behind in the 80s and ended up winning the league. Do you remember that? Steve will tell us when that year was.
We lost the game against Manchester City on Boxing Day, 3-1 at home. And I think that left us in 12th place or something, 13th place. And we went on a run and won the league. It was round about 79, I'd guess, something like that.
Was it 12 wins and 1 draw or something? 11 wins and 1 draw?
It was a hell of a
Steve, it was 81 because Bruce was in goal against
that's right.
City. So it could have been 79 on that basis. It was 81.
Was.
Or it was 81, 82 because it was Bruce's first season. It was Boxing Day 81 that we got beat by City. And then we went on the run and won it in there. It was 81, 82. But only because Bruce was in goal against City. So it was definitely early 80s.
And I actually remember, Ed, we had a party at your house on the Boxing night. And it was the atmosphere was horrible.
Do you remember that, Dad? And do you remember at that time, that party in particular? I don't know whether you remember the party, but do you remember feeling like, well, we're out of it this year and, you know, we might as well just forget about it this year?
Yeah, but also what I've realised now is that you know, nothing's over until it's over. We can see that, and City look as if they can win every game, but then this Premiership division now is a different kettle of fish. Even some of the if you say like the smaller clubs, apart from Everton, can come up with a result, and so anything can happen. So we've got to keep plugging away as well as we can, getting the best results we can. So if City do slip up, we've got a chance.
Yeah, Steve, do you agree with that?
We're not out of it, but I think what you have to consider, Ed, you've just sort of touched on it. I think that we're heading for a points total of somewhere between 80 and 85 points this season. Times have changed with the Premier League. 85 points would have been good enough to win the league only once in the last 10 years. Yeah. And that was the year that Leicester won it with, I think, 81 points. But interestingly enough, if you wind it back to the start of the Premier League, to a 38-game Premier League, it actually would have won the league 5 out of 6 times. Right. And the bar has just been raised so far now that you would say 80 to 85 points is unlikely to win the league. Having said that, I think the first thing to say is to have a sniff, you've got to beat City at their place.
Yeah,
that is a real 6-pointer.
Is draw no good?
No, I don't think so. And I think in the other 15 games that we've still got to play, incidentally, 9 of them are at home and 7 away. So you could argue that that's in our favour. Although our away form seems to be as good as almost as our home form. All we can do is concentrate on the next game, which is Leicester in 2 and a bit weeks' time. Hopefully, we'll have a fully fit squad. Hopefully, the 3 African players will come back without any injuries. And it's never over till it's over. But you've got to say that statistically, it's possible. It's unlikely. But we've got to be near perfect.
I think the crucial thing is, we have got to be near perfect. It's the effect you would have on the mentality of Man City if you beat them in their yard.
Yeah,
and you paid them back
and it worked the other way around a few seasons ago, didn't it? Yeah. We had the little wobble, and they sort of reeled us in towards the end.
Yeah.
So hey, we don't give up. We don't give up, and I don't think Jurgen will be telling our players that this is all over, and they've just got to believe.
Do you agree with that, Paul?
Yeah. I'd be annoyed if certainly anyone in the hierarchy at Liverpool were talking about let's go for second, let's go for the top, because as you say, 3 points from the game in hand, 3 points against City, you're 3 points behind them. It's one game, so you saying if we draw at City, it's still 6 points then. So then you look at them to drop points in 2 games. It's what these things are made of, isn't it? It's all talking about what might and might not happen. We've just got to keep going. Everyone in the league has, everyone's got to get as many points as they can, and then see where they finish at the end of the season. That's the whole point of the tournament. So you can, but having said, teams who are going to win it, if you're going to try and win it, you've got to be either us or Man City at the moment. So we're one of the 2 teams in it, so that'll do for me. I wish there was only 1 team in it, but if the two teams in it, I'm glad we're one of the 2. Lovely.
I was going to end, but I've just thought maybe we should just have like a little 5-minute laugh at Everton.
No, that's not enough time.
I mean,
it's very sad in a way, because Duncan obviously thought on there. Well, if you want to really annoy them, call him Fergie. Call Duncan Ferguson Fergie, because that absolutely irritates the life out of them.
Brilliant.
Just call him Fergie on everything you do on tweets, Facebook, even on this. Just say, well, we don't think Fergie could do a good job there.
Well, I think it's interesting that he's not. It doesn't look like he's going to be given any sort of time to actually do the job, because they're interviewing for people now.
Who are they interviewing?
I think there's a guy called, I've just seen on Twitter this morning, there's a guy called Vitor someone who is either Portuguese or Brazilian or whatever. So he's coming over for an interview.
Oh, great.
I think he got sacked by Galatasaray or something like that, and he spent a load of time in China and all that.
Well, he's got the qualifications then.
Well, there you go. Do you know one thing that does intrigue me about it? I mean, it's not to do with the football. It's the off-pitch stuff, really, Gav. I mean, there was a story at the end of last week, and a number of Blues all seem to think that Mashiri has put £100 million into the club. What he's done, he's actually converted debt to equity. So there's no actual money that's gone into the club. He had a loan in there, for more than 100 million, but he's converted 100 million of it into equity. That would normally happen in circumstances where a bank is not happy with the capital structure of the club and is saying that debt to Moshiri now needs to be converted into equity. The difference being you can actually take a director's loan out, whereas once it's converted into share capital, you can take it out, but it's very difficult to take it out. Now, two things come to mind for me. It's either the banks are very, very nervous about the financial position of the club, or it's been asked for because whoever is in, I don't think they've sorted it out, but whoever is going to provide finance for Bramley Moore, right, is insisted that they actually reduce the debt of the club before they'll agree any finance. So it's quite intriguing. But one thing that hasn't happened is Everton haven't got £100 million to spend.
Well, they spent quite a few quid prior to last season, didn't they? They were the top spenders as far as
they've spent gross 500 million in the last few seasons.
Has he put that in, or where have they got that from?
Well, I think some of it will be borrowing and some of it will be the director's loans that he's put in. He's now got 94% of the equity of the club, so he's the absolute dominant shareholder. Interestingly enough, he's cancelled any requirement for an AGM as well, which is very sort of strange move.
Okay.
Didn't he have the AGM on Saturday after the game outside the ground with Kenwright?
I saw the footage of that.
I thought that was the AGM. Imagine being married to that woman. The woman on it. Oh my God! Imagine being married to that, having to go home and the way she's shouting at Bill Kenwright. She doesn't even know him.
Whichever. It just strikes me that the whole entity of Everton Football Club is just in an absolute mess.
Well, how are they paying for the new stadium?
Well, that's the other thing, because what's happened is machinery has actually agreed to fund the enabling works, which is basically digging sand out the Mersey and dumping it in Bramley Moor. But once that is over, the actual construction of it, there's no finance in place. So I just don't know how they're going to do it.
Hang on a minute. You're telling me that there's a possibility that the enabling works get finished and then nothing happens after that?
Well, in the absence of funding, and you're not talking about a few shilling here. You're talking about potentially £500 million.
Wouldn't they have that in place before they started the enabling work? Surely.
Well, any company that actually knew what it was doing would do that, but you just don't know with Everton Football Club.
That's astounding. I didn't think that was in question. I just assumed Moshiri was either providing a very low interest rate loan or something, and they were doing it on that basis.
It's difficult to tell what's happening, but my understanding is that they haven't secured funding to fund the build.
Well,
someone moved the traffic cone, didn't they, on Saturday? There's a traffic cone by the Bramley Moor dock, and it moves about a bit, and that's part of the stadium rebuild. It's the traffic cone moving counts as the stadium's in progress.
Yeah, but it's a blue and white traffic cone.
It's not. It's orange and white.
Is it orange and white?
It's orange and white.
You can just see drone footage going across, going there. There's the cone there. It's moved 4 feet to the left.
There's some Liverpool lads, they take pictures of it and put it on Twitter. The cone's moved. They move it and take pictures of it, all thumbs up. Brilliant. And that the cone's moved.
Brilliant.
That's all that happens. There's a cone that moves about a little bit, and there's a lot of sand.
That's hilarious.
It's just intriguing how they're going to do it. I can't work it out.
I thought we were going to have a laugh at Everton, and it got very technical there from Steve and all financial. It's very interesting, but it wasn't. I was just over a laugh at the players.
I do feel a little bit bad for Rafa that he's had the whole season and he struggled without a striker, and then Calvert-Lewin comes back, and after the first game that Calvert-Lewin gets back, he gets sacked. Because he would have benefited greatly from Calvert-Lewin playing all season. They wouldn't be where they are now. Let's be honest.
I think Rafa at Everton was a disaster waiting to happen, wasn't it? Really?
Yeah,
of course.
Wasn't really happy with him going there, were you? You know.
No.
But what I want is I want the manager, the new manager of the Blues, to be Wayne Rooney. That's what I want, because he'd be able to do. It's Play-Doh or something like that, and show the players how to move with Play-Doh or
that's what grommet, isn't it, Eddie?
Hey,
well, let's
that's what grommet to play though.
How would he talk to players? He can't talk to himself.
Dad, you say that, but he's there, having lost 10 points at the beginning of the season. Derby, they are playing that well. I don't know what the run that they're on at the moment is, but they're about to get out of the relegation zone, even with a 10-point reduction.
It's 21-point reduction, actually, Gav.
With a 21-point reduction.
It was 9 and 12, wasn't it?
They are about to get out of the relegation zone. He's won that many points. So you say that, and I do agree. I understand why you're saying it, but I think the thing is he's doing really, really well at Derby. So
good, because then he'll end up at Goodison Park, which will be marvellous. Or is it Bramley Moor?
Well,
not yet.
Will they have to wear swim trunks?
You need a bucket and spade.
You could do some sandcastles and build a ground.
That's right, yeah.
I mean, if ever
he'd be good at that. Rooney would be good at that.
If ever there's a manager's graveyard, it's Everton.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
Of course.
I don't know why anyone would want to go there, frankly. But
gents, I'm going to wrap this up. But thanks for your time. Appreciate it. You look after yourselves and make sure you're all boosted and all that sort of caper. If you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and like the video, and give us a little share on your social media pages so other people can see it. Gents, thanks very much, and we'll see you
bye, lads.
in a bit. Cheers.
Take care.